Hey YouTubers, I'm Mr. Enigma and here's your analysis. Today I want to talk about the current holy grail of consumer electronics, the PlayStation 5, and how up until a few days ago, mine had literally been collecting dust. That's not comedic exaggeration. I hadn't touched my PlayStation 5 for 3 months, maybe even a little more. Now before I go any further, let me heavily preface with a few things. First, I want to clarify that a lot of the points I make and conclusions I've reached here are not new, nor are they unique to me. Back right when the PS5 launched, I realized most of this stuff, so these aren't like revolutionary revelations or anything like that. These are things that a lot of intelligent people have already said, and now I'm confirming that they're true. Second, I don't want anybody to assume that I'm part of this weird console war thing among the fans where anytime somebody badmouths a PlayStation system, people think they're secretly Microsoft fans. I haven't had an Xbox since the 360, but everything I'm saying here has nothing to do with that. I'm not trying to prove anything on behalf of Microsoft or Sony here. And the last thing I want to clarify is that I'm not trying to convince anyone to do anything regarding the PlayStation 5, getting it, not getting it, whatever. I could sit here and tell you, here's all the reasons why it's not worth getting, it's not worth it, leave it alone, but I'd be a total hypocrite because even though I suspected that would be the case back when it launched, I was still right there with everyone else, sitting in the virtual waiting lines, trying to get one. And for me to have one now and then tell other people like, oh, it's not worth it, it's ridiculous to try to get one, that would be like, you know, a rich guy telling a homeless guy that money's not that important. I've got a lot of food, you're starving. I'm going, you know what, food's overrated, you don't need it that badly. So I'm not gonna do that. Draw your own conclusions based on what I'm telling you. So yes, after stupidly fighting tooth and nail with everyone else trying to get a PlayStation 5 towards the end of the last calendar year, I got lucky on a GameStop bundle that included Demon's Souls and NBA 2K, and I did manage to get one for the low price of, I think it was 700 bucks. Now, if you were sizing up the launch lineup before the system came out, you probably noticed that with one or two exceptions, there are absolutely no exclusive titles for the system. We'll get into the exceptions in a minute. So I think it's fair to say on that basis, regardless of what you think of the games that are available, I do think it's fair to say that the PlayStation 5 had a really bad launch. I think it's fair to say that to this point, it's not a good system. But it would be wrong of me to pretend that most systems have really strong launches. Weak console launches are a thing that go back decades. However, with most of them, at least ones in recent memory, they had a little something extra to entice you to buy a system. For example, looking at Nintendo systems, yeah, the Wii's big launch title, just like the Switch's, was a Zelda game, but at least with the Wii, you know, you could say, hey, look, motion controls. You gotta get the system to get motion controls. And with the Switch, any port they had of a game or any game they had that was available on another console, you could say, well, this one lets you play it portably, so hey, you gotta get it. Again, not saying that makes the launches excellent, but at least it had a little something that the PlayStation 5 doesn't quite have yet. By and large, if you get a PlayStation 5 at this point, you're getting it for the future, for the potential of what it could be. There are things about it that are good currently, but they're just not really enough to make a reasonable person spend $500+. Thankfully for Sony, me and a bunch of other people are not reasonable. So let's talk about what the PS5 has to offer right now as of this recording. I know a bit of a selling point for a lot of people was Demon's Souls. This remake isn't available on any other system, and obviously if you're a fan of that kind of game, that holds some appeal. I would argue, however, that it is a remake. I mean, we all play them, we all get sucked into it, that's fine. I just don't think a remake is solely enough reason to buy a new console. And just me personally, my joke, I always say I don't hate myself enough to play games like Demon's Souls, Bloodborne, etc., etc. The more fair way to put it is just that I don't like cripplingly difficult games. That's just personal preference, although I did play Cuphead and then I regretted it afterwards, even though Cuphead's fun. It just, my blood pressure can't take that. Also, the PS5 comes with what's really a really good and glorified tech demo called Astro's Playroom. That's a platformer. It is really fun while it lasts. It gives you a good sense of what types of things the console can do in the future. It shows off the controller, that sort of thing. It is really fun, but I mean, it takes, what, 2 hours to play, give or take. It's really fun, but really short. again, not really a selling point for a console, just a little added bonus. Now, as I said earlier, there are some quality games on the system, it's just that they're available elsewhere without the crazy price tag. For example, I think most of us would agree that Spider-Man Miles Morales is an objectively pretty good game. It's worth noting it's kind of the same type of Spider-Man game we've been getting since like 2002, but all the same, that's fine, they're fun, no problems there. And again, if you get it on PS5, you're getting the best looking, best sounding version of it. The PS5 controller does some cool extra little things that you won't get on other systems. Worth getting a new console for? Meanwhile, if sports games are your things, NBA 2K and MLB The Show are every bit as good as they are on other systems. Obviously, if you're the type that wants to get those on a system every year, you're going to scoop those up, probably be pretty happy with them. Just again, available on other consoles. Nothing new or revolutionary there. And to be honest, if I had an infinite amount of time to just play video games endlessly, I'd probably scoop up MLB The Show. I already have NBA 2K just because it came with the console, but I'm not an expert on it. I probably don't care enough to get really good at it or whatever. That's just me. Still, fun games to have. That might be enough for some people. And then the thing that's got me currently playing the PS5 as of this recording, Resident Evil 8. Again, fun game. Kind of a silly game, to be honest. Ridiculous story and all that. Nonetheless, really fun, available on other systems. I will say the PS5 controller is pretty great. It's super comfortable, just does everything you picture a modern controller doing. The little tricks it can do with the triggers that sort of adjust based on the context of what you're using them for in game are really cool. It's hard to explain if you haven't felt them yourselves. Haven't been utilized super effectively yet in too many games, but I get the feeling that within the next few years we're going to see a lot of that. It's really cool. Also, the PS5's load times are excellent. Everything loads up really smoothly. I don't sit around waiting for the PlayStation Store to open up like I did on the PS4. Little things like that are definitely perks. And if you're talking about the PS5, you have to make at least one joke about the PS5 being some huge monstrosity. The system is really big. I don't know if that's really a hindrance for anybody. It does look pretty nice though. And the last thing it currently has going for it are the PlayStation Plus free games of the past that you get. There are some, pretty darn good games that aren't super old, but are from previous console generations that you get for free as long as you're subscribed to PS Plus. The latest God of War, I played the most recent Ratchet and Clank, Crash Bandicoot 4, along with the Insane Trilogy, Persona 5, and Final Fantasy 15, if that's your thing. All pretty cool, but let's be real here, it's no Wii Virtual Console or anything like that. It's not a reason to buy a system in and of itself. And to be honest, early on, I probably spent more time playing old games on the PS5 than I did playing current ones. I picked up Sackboy thinking, hey, I like platformers, maybe that'll be a little hidden gem. I wasn't particularly impressed by it. I burned through it really quick and moved on. All that being said, with the exception of Demon Souls, not one of those games requires you to have a PS5 to play it. As of this recording, the first game that looks really exciting that is exclusive to the system is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart that comes out June 11th. I am looking forward to it. You can't really go wrong with Ratchet and Clank. If I'm looking at the negative though, you pretty much always know exactly what you're getting with Ratchet and Clank. It's not gonna revolutionize anybody's thoughts on gaming or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just making the point that, again, I don't really picture a lot of people rushing out to get a PS5 solely to play Ratchet and Clank. All the same, I'm definitely getting that day one. Not to get too philosophical here, but I do think the only real reasons to have a PlayStation 5 right now are, well, A, because a lot of us just got bored during the pandemic and needed something to fix our existential angst and all that stuff. But B, I think it was just fear of missing out. I think it's just the notion that the cool new shiny toy came out, a lot of people wanted it, we didn't want to be left out. And again, maybe that would be fine, but this thing is so hard to get. Even as of this recording in May of 2021, this thing's still getting sold for ridiculous prices by scalpers online and that sort of thing. It's silly to look at. Again, let me clarify once again that I was part of it, so I'm not looking down on anyone for it. I'm not condescending to anyone. I'm including myself in this. It's kind of a ridiculous thing that we haven't seen quite this badly in a long time. It's all well and good to use the excuse that I made and say, hey, I'm getting it for what it will be down the line, but okay, then just wait till it's more readily available. I don't know. I don't take my own advice all the time. But the fact that developers haven't really caught up to the system yet, and that they're not yet churning out games that really take advantage of the hardware. It kind of leaves me to question, did we really need a new wave of consoles in the first place? Do we need another console generation? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Sony will say yes because they're making boatloads of money off the new system. We're all buying it, so who cares? But from the consumer standpoint, wasn't the PS4 fine? Did we really need a PS5 this soon? I'm not sure that we did. I mean, yeah, if you're in the category of people who has to have every single new gadget as soon as it comes out, no matter how expensive, then okay, great. But at a certain point, isn't it just technical innovation? Isn't it just improved hardware for the sake of it? Is it really that important that our games have even better graphics? I thought they already looked and sounded pretty darn good. And furthermore, an even bigger issue is, are console exclusives a thing going by the wayside? I mean, anything that's not a first-party title seems to be available on multiple systems, and usually PC too. That's all I got for today. Maybe sometime in the future, well after this is recorded, people can look back on this and laugh at how hard up we were for something worth playing on the PS5. But in the meantime, let me know in the comment section what you think of the PS5 up until this point, what you've been playing on it, if you think I'm right, wrong, somewhere in the middle. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and if people are really digging these video game focused videos, I'll make more of them. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enigma out.